Hi there. I wanted to really think back about the Instagram post that Dawn posted on our Facebook page last week, where it spoke about those safe places and endless expectations that children have throughout their day. As adults, it is so important to have those soft eyes, to really look behind the stress response reactions that children are expressing within their environments. I've had many conversations with parents who really feel guilty when they hear that their child has had a really successful day, and yet when they get home, they are a totally different child. They just lose it, right? You ask them to put their backpacks away, or clean up their lunch pail, or even just hang up their coat and take off their shoes, and all you get in response is yelling and screaming and tossing of things and banging of doors and lots of refusals. It's really hard to take that step back and rethink our thoughts, and move from, if I don't address this now, they're going to be really disrespectful. If I don't address this now, things belong in certain places, and that they need to get done now, to an actual conversation of being kind and patient. Remind ourselves, take that deep breath, and then ask, does this really need to be done right now? Or is this something that can be done later on when the child is feeling a lot more calm? If we add more demands onto someone who is really displaying a stress response reaction, it will just amplify what is happening in that moment, and your stress levels will be fueling as well. So, what do we do then? Well, you do really want your children to follow through with responsibilities, but how do we manage this? So, a few thoughts are: first, we've got to really look at our own expectations in regards to what we're expecting, and what the task is and what you're asking for. And then you've got to ask yourself, is this something that is age appropriate? Is it necessary? Sometimes there are expectations that we ask children that really, they really don't have to happen in that moment, as long as it does happen. Remember, children need to have control over their lives. So we've got to give them choices as to when things need to happen. So always ask ourselves, is this something that really has to happen in the moment? Or, it's those comments and those conversations that we have as parents is that, oh, you pick the lesser of the evil. Is it something that we need to address, or should we just leave it and carry on? Because if we know that we do pay attention to it or address it, your response is not going to be the greatest. What can you do together? Children love to do things with other people. We're social beings, right? So eventually the skill of the task will be done on their own. But for right now, that partnership and task building is a wonderful way of modeling the actual task or the skill or the completion of that task. What a great way to model that when you have that partnership between adult and child. The other thing that you want to ask yourself is, what is the emotional feel for the moment, right? So we want to look at what the child is actually really feeling right now in that moment. Are they ready to emotionally complete that task? Okay, so those are just a few little ideas or things. Now let's take, you by looking at that and by reflecting on that, you've actually take that first step of those soft eyes. So here are some other thoughts and tools too to actually continue to build on it. I've mentioned before in other videos in regards to visual schedules and checklists. So that's another tool to help your child focus to get from point A to point B. Creating rituals. Oh, when your children return home from somewhere, could be from school or for a visit or for an overnight, create those rituals of returning back into your home. It could be simple conversation check-ins like, how was your day? What was something wonderful that really happened today? Just observe when your child comes in back into your house. What's their physical presence? How are they carrying their body? Are they tense? Are they relaxed? What does their facial expressions look like? Are they looking angry, or they have smiles? You can also look at creating funky handshakes when you come into the door. What a great way of welcoming your child into your home at the end of a day. Create some funky handshakes. Have some snacks all ready to go for your child. We know that they've been through a really busy day at school. If it's at school, they may not have had the opportunity to complete their lunch and finish up their lunch, so they could be starving. And we know those hangry moments, right? So have that snack ready to go. And then once they've had that time to de-stress, to feel calm, to have some food in their tummy, to fuel their body, then they're able to manage those expectations afterwards. Remember, there's no, try to remember when they're coming in from somewhere, from school or from an overnight, is that try not to ask for immediate demands as soon as they walk through the door. You want to take layers of stress away, not to add the layers on. We've got to find some good time during your evenings where you can have those conversations with your child about routines when they come home from school. What kinds of things that they would like to help with, and to help them remember of what are some of those responsibilities that need to get done throughout the evening. Children love the control, right? They want to be able to manage their lives. So it could be a fact of having a conversation of, okay, so when we get home, there's dinner time that has to happen. There's bath and maybe some homework, TV time. What are some other things that we got to do tonight? And then you go through that list, and then you create of, okay, what are we going to do first? What would you like to do first? And then after that, what's next? So what you're doing is that you're creating a mental checklist. You can even write it all down. So then when they're completing something, they can actually even check it off at the same time. So there's lots of really neat ways of helping children manage coming back into the house after a really stressful day. It's about being kind, and it's about being patient. Remember, after school is about, those conversations. How would you like your night to go? What first, then what's next? So then you're working on those statements of first this, and then next. Great way of creating and supporting and wiring the brain for those mental checklists. As children grow, they will recall that information, and when they recall those steps will actually help them as in any type of social situation or any other schooling, as they make their way through schooling with problem solving and being creative and thinking outside the box. You could also make the comment of saying, you know what, I really love to have some help with dinner. Is there something that you could help me with? Encourage your child to create their own plan. We've talked about that. What you can say is it's isn't it wonderful when you think about it, and emotionally awesome that your child finds your house to be a safe place, safe to let loose, knowing that you're going to be patient and kind, safe place, knowing that it's unconditional love that includes welcoming and acknowledging those meltdowns as they happen, and then support with lots of love and cuddles afterwards. The conversations can happen afterwards. And as a result of those stressful days, they know that they are loved in that safe space. So, it's about remembering, being kind, and being patient, that Instagram that Dawn had posted. And what I'd like to do too is thank you for taking, it was more than a moment this time, but a moment of your time. And I do hope to see you next week. Have a good evening.